Welcome to the Game Before the Money podcast. This episode, part 2 of an NCAA Coaches Roundtable. Hi everybody, welcome to the Game Before the Money podcast. I'm Michael Jackson, and last episode put together some quotes from the Texas High School Coaches Association convention press conferences of major NCAA coaches discussing the new salary cap that is in place this season. Didn't quite have time to cover everything I wanted to. I'm going to cover more in this episode. I'm going to do it as quickly as possible because I got to get this out by this Friday before college football kicks off. Going to jump right into the transfer portal here. You're likely familiar with what the transfer portal is. It's been a part of college football for a couple of years now. Here are TCU's coach Sonny Dykes, Baylor's coach Dave Aranda, Houston coach Willie Fritz, and Texas Tech coach Joey McGuire discussing the current state of the transfer portal and their own experiences with it.
We're a developmental program. And what I mean by that is we're going to recruit players. We're going to bring them into our program. We're going to, we think we have the best strength and conditioning program in college football. We're going to get them involved in that. We believe we have one of the top nutrition programs and supplementation programs in college football. We're going to get them involved in that. We're going to try to retain those players with revenue share. And then, we're going to develop them. We're going to coach them hard, build a relationship with them, get to know them, make sure that they realize we care about them off the field more than we do on the field. And then I think if you do those things and the guys feel like they're improving and they feel like they have a chance to win, then you're going to have a small number of players that go in the portal. And we had 13 players. We were the least in the Big 12 and the least in the state of Texas. And the majority of those kids went in the portal because we had a conversation with them. They came and they said, okay, what's my role going to be moving forward? And we said, look, you're probably going to be a scout team player. And the transfer portal is supposed to work that way. It gave these guys an opportunity, instead of being a scout team player at TCU, to go somewhere else and potentially be a starter and have a lot different college football experience. And that's what the transfer portal is supposed to be about.
There's agents that, that compile names of players that are going to jump in the portal and then email it to schools. You get a school, and we get a list of players that are going to jump in the portal, and some of our players are on the list that was emailed to us. And so, you get agents of all types, right? But I just think, it'd be good if the contracts that are drawn are all the same contract. It'd be good if every agent had to be officially licensed, because I think agents are using the different contracts, whatever they are, to boost their own deal, right? And it becomes more about the agent than what about the kid and or the family and the benefits that are coming to them. And so, I think, there's, for the ones that are kind of shady, there's guys that are doing it right and doing all of it, but you get into the high stakes of, hey, this is, I gotta have it. They're definitely influencing, more than any other thing. They're influencing where kids are going right now.
Last year or 2 years ago, I'd have been talking about my squad and talking about the portal and ref share and all that stuff that we're talking about right now. I just think what needs to, the number one thing that needs to happen is we got to go down to one portal. That has got to happen. And hopefully that's going to happen this year. It's just, and I think it'll be great for the universities. And I think it'll be really good for the student athletes. When I talk to kids and I recruit them from the high school level, I said, hey, this is a 4-year decision. If you're wanting to come here and you have a little bit of adversity and you want to book and go someplace else, don't come here. I don't need that. I I want to develop you. I want you to fight through adversity like you have to do in the real world. And most of the kids and parents really understand that, because I want it to be a 4-year decision. I did not want it to be a 1-year decision. I want to have some stability in our roster year after year after year. Yeah, you're going to supplement it with the portal, but I'd rather supplement it with incoming freshmen.
We've had a great spring. We had a great summer. We brought in 20 freshmen, high school freshmen, and brought in 21 transfer portal. So we've got a lot of new faces. When that happens, the biggest thing for a head coach is to build a great culture.
All right, so you heard a couple of coaches talk about a 4-year decision. You heard Coach Aranda talk about agents and the influence they're having. And now we're getting into contracts here just for a second, because Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian really made a great point. And I want to make clear, and he made it clear, that he's hypothesizing here about something that could happen. But on the same hand, it's very likely to happen at some point if someone wants to declare eligibility for the NFL draft. Maybe there's an injury. Maybe somebody gets a better offer from somewhere else. All right, let's listen to Coach Sarkisian.
Okay, so here's my opinion, and I don't know what's going to happen. I don't pretend to know. But let's paint a picture. We sign a young man to a 3-year contract. That should mean, in my opinion, if he's on a 3-year guaranteed contract, that he has to stay at my university for 3 years. The problem I have with that is at the end of year 1, if Billy doesn't like the way it's going, he's a free agent and he can go in the portal and leave. That doesn't make sense to me. That's not good. That's not a good business model. Okay, so where does it go from here? I don't know. I'm not the decision maker on this, so I'm not going to pretend to have the answers to it. But I will say that doesn't make sense to me, right? If I sign a multi-year deal, which I have one, and I decided to leave, which I'm not, I would have to pay the University of Texas to leave. Well, until we institute things like that, then I don't understand that why we should feel like we have to sign multi-year deals if at the discretion of the student can leave whenever they want. They're a free agent to leave when they want. So is the system perfect? No. Are we trying to get better at cleaning it up to making it better for all parties involved? I do think we are, yes. But we're definitely a work in progress right now.
SMU head coach Rhett Lashlee gave his thoughts regarding star quarterback Kevin Jennings' choice to stay with the Mustangs rather than opting into the portal for a potential chance with another school.
It was tough from the standpoint of he had such a great year, and then when the portal opened, we had just played Clemson, and I think everybody saw, particularly in the second half, but the last 3 quarters of that game, I think it would be hard for anybody to argue he wasn't the best quarterback on the field that night. What he did to lead that comeback was incredible. So in this day and age, that's how it works, right? So that was tough. And it was tough, the timing, because all that was happening when we had a 13-day window to prepare for a playoff game. So that was really tougher on him than anybody, because he's having to try to juggle the two instead of just enjoy being in the playoffs and trying to go win a national championship with his team. But it really wasn't hard because he wanted to be at SMU and he wanted to be in Dallas. And so from the jump, him, his mom and dad, he ain't going nowhere. He wants to be here. And I'm usually a big believer if two sides want the same thing, then we can figure out a way to make it happen, and that's what we were able to do. So other than being a little bit of a distraction, I don't think there was ever any doubt where he was going to be playing football this year. And he loves Dallas. He wants to get a degree in SMU. He loves his teammates. And I think, like us, he believes that there's still more we can do here at SMU.
Some coaches commented that they thought continuity on their coaching staffs was vital in this process. Here are SMU's Coach Lashlee and UTSA coach Jeff Traylor. For those of you who might not be familiar with UTSA, University of Texas at San Antonio, is a strong up-and-coming program. that's been ranked in the top 25 several times. And even though the program didn't start until 2011, the Roadrunners have already appeared in 6 bowl games in their 15 years in college football. Let's listen to Coach Lashlee and then Coach Traylor about the importance of continuity of coaching staffs.
I think one of the reasons we've had a lot less turnover with our players is because of our staff. Our staff has stayed intact, and to have Scott Simons coming back for the 4th year with that entire defensive staff over there, those guys do a fantastic job. Same thing on the offensive side, those guys all returning, and a lot of our support staff. It obviously helps us try to sustain the success we've had and not have to get as many new people up to speed, and I think that bleeds into our players. And so it's hard to ask players to stay committed and stay with you if your staff doesn't. Now, look, everybody, players and staff, always get opportunities sometimes they need to take, and that'll happen forever. And our deal is we want this to be the best job anyone's ever had when they're on our staff at SMU. And then if they do choose to leave, it needs to be just an obvious opportunity to further their career, and we want to celebrate them.
The sustainability of our players and our coaches is something that I take extremely great pride in, because people always talk about, head coaches demand loyalty, and loyalty is a two-way street. I mean, we got to be loyal to each other, and head coaches expect assistant coaches to be loyal to them, and sometimes the head coach isn't very loyal to the assistant. And we got roughed up a little bit last year, and there were people wanting coaching changes and all those kind of things that are nonsensical in my opinion. And I'm a ride or die guy. And when you keep Jess Lep for 6 years as defensive coordinator, the continuity on that defensive staff. I mean, Zach Brown's been here all 6 years. Our special teams coordinator, Justin Burke, 6 years. Joe Price, who turns down a job every year. Coach our receivers, our passing game coordinator out of North Shore. Kurt Traylor, I know his last name. He's my brother, obviously. My mom probably whoop him if he left me, so he can't leave. Strength coach, been here all 6 seasons. It's DFO, Andrew. No, we can't roll without Andrew Acosta. He played for me, and he runs the whole program now. So I think that's been the trick, to be honest with you. Our guys we know each other well. We know what we want. We know what we're looking for. We recruit. Continuity, Mike, you nailed it. I think that's been the secret to our sauce. Especially, I even hate using the word. I know I'm going to get in trouble for saying it. What are we now, G6? Is that what y'all call us now? G6. That's even harder because the gap has just gotten so different in the landscape of money.
All right. Let's talk football now. Actual on-the-field football and the upcoming season. A lot of big games to open the season. Texas plays Ohio State. TCU plays North Carolina in Bill Belichick's coaching debut. Several of the coaches at the Texas High School Coaches Association convention looked at the upcoming season. Let's start with Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns. Opening game against Ohio State.
I've been down this road a couple different times throughout my career. This is probably the most daunting challenge of a first game because some of those games were neutral sites type games. Really early in my career, way back in 2003, we opened at Auburn when I was at SC, and that was a heck of a challenge. We had a new quarterback, Matt Leinart, and we had a couple freshman running backs, Reggie Bush, Lendell White. We were a young team, and we had a great defense that year and found a way to win on the road against might have been preseason #1 team in the country at the time in Auburn. And so you just try to tap into kind of those things throughout your career that you've been through, and then how can you benefit from that? For us, historically, what we've done, and I don't mind getting into this, the first 2.5 weeks or so of training camp have been truly that of training camp. And then we've adjusted kind of into that third week of where we've gotten into that first opponent, that bigger opponent. So a few years ago it was Alabama for that week. Last year it was Michigan. This year would be Ohio State. And that was really implementing the game plan for that game. And then the fourth week, we would then game plan and prepare for our first opponent. Where this year, what it will look like more of kind of a 2-week process to get ready for the game. Similar in a sense, I guess you could say it almost to a bowl game. But yet the reality of it is probably a little more physicality, a little more opportunity to tackle and to do those things to make sure that you're sharp. That's always right. What are your biggest concerns going into a game? Your first game is A, tackling, that you make sure you can get people on the ground. B, ball security, that your ball carriers are used to being tackled, all right, so you're not giving up short fields. And then 3, dealing with performance anxiety, for some of the players who it's their first time on that stage that they're ready to perform. And so if I can put them in some of those elements, as well as, the staff putting together a good game plan, and then we can get up there and go cut it loose and go play.
Here is TCU head coach Sonny Dykes discussing the Horned Frogs.
Obviously, we have a interesting opener against North Carolina on Labor Day, and that'll be a big challenge for us, getting ready for a tough road game against an opponent that's obviously got a pretty impressive resume when it comes to coaching and Bill Belichick. And so, there's going to be a lot of things that we're not going to have the opportunity to prepare for, a lot of unknowns, but we got to do a good job making sure our players are ready to go play. We kind of faced this same thing 2 years ago when we opened at home against Colorado in Deion's first game, and we were coming off of that run in 22, and we didn't, guys weren't very well prepared. I didn't do a good job getting our team ready. Guys really probably weren't ready to deal with all of the attention that game drew, so we're going to need to do a really good job of getting our guys mentally prepared and in a good place to go on the road and play against North Carolina, because obviously there's going to be a lot of talk about that game as well. So I believe it's the only college football game on Labor Day, so there'll be a lot of eyeballs on the game. So we've got to make sure our guys are in the right frame of mind. And again, that's going to be on me and our coaching staff to make sure that we do that. I'm like everybody. I like our team. You guys have been listening to a lot of coaches that have come up here and talked, and I would imagine not one of them has gotten up here and said, man, I really don't like our football team. So I'm like everybody else. I like our guys. I think we have a unique team. I think we're very experienced. We have a lot of players that have been with us for a long time. It's a fun team to coach. I really enjoy being around these kids. It's an unselfish group. They really like each other, pour into each other. And typically when we've had these kind of veteran teams of unselfish guys and good enough players, then we've had good years. And so, I think that we have a very difficult schedule. I think that's the one thing. I think we're one of 2 or 3 Power 4 teams that play 9 Power 4 opponents, 11 Power 4 opponents, rather. With non-conference games against SMU and North Carolina. So tough schedule. We go on the road, play some really good Big 12 teams on the road in some tough environments. It's funny, there's so much talk about the championship game where we got our tail kicked, but we were the only team that beat Michigan in 2 years, and so that was a big win. And I know some people sometimes try to discredit that a little bit because of what happened in the championship game, but they lost 1 football game in 2 years. They lost it to us. And so that was a big win. It was a hell of a job by our players. It was big. But as you said, 23 happened, and that wasn't very good. And then we got off to such a bad start last year in 24 and then kind of found our way. My hope is really to pick up where we left off. I think we played really good football at the end of last season. I think we figured out as a program, how do we win? I think our players understand that now. There's so much that goes into preparation and doing all the things, and I think at the end of the day, you have to take all that preparation, you have to put it on the field, and you have to go out there and you have to execute. And our guys had to understand, what made the difference between winning and losing. And so I think we figured that out by the end of the year last year. We got on a run. We played pretty good football, and I think that we're a year better. We lost some good players, obviously. I mean, losing Savion was significant, the role he had. Losing Jack Besh he obviously had a great year, but we think we're better across the board. significantly better, this team, than last year. And so, we're kind of at that point in our program where you go, well, we've been there 3 years. We've averaged 9 wins a season. We're the winningest team in the Big 12 over the last 3 years with Kansas State. And you kind of go, well, what about TCU? And you go, You know what I'm saying? And so the expectations in Fort Worth are high.
SMU coach Rhett Lashlee is hoping to guide the Mustangs into the college football playoff again. Here he is.
Yeah, I think last year what it did, it helped. Look, I'd be lying if I didn't say it didn't give us confidence that what we felt, we believed and thought has been validated for us. So you kind of got to accomplish confidence. We were able to do that, which I think gives our program a lot of confidence coming into year 2 in the ACC. At the same time, I think it helped validate to a lot of other people that, SMU, it is a new day at SMU, and there's never been a better time to come to SMU. And we're in a position where we can compete on the national stage, hopefully year in, year out for the foreseeable future. So it gives you a ton of momentum as you try to sustain success, whether it be in recruiting, whether it be in wins and losses. And so we felt like we had a good team. We felt like our program was trending. We had won 11 games a year before, but, coming into last year, it's, well, yeah, but can you do it in the bigger divisions, right? And now that we've proven we belong there, and in our opinion, still, fell short in some areas we'd like to do better, it's kind of the same deal. Well, yeah, but prove you can do it again. And so I think we're going to consistently be in a prove ourselves situation, but that's actually probably good for us, because usually when you get complacent and you relax, things don't go well. And we got our hands full this year, but we're excited about the opportunity to continue to try to sustain the success, and the momentum from last year can only help us in all areas.
And here is Texas A&M head coach Mike Elko talking about the Aggies.
Nobody was talking about us last year, and 3/4 of the way into the season, we were the last undefeated team standing. I think what happens on the field is what happens on the field, and I think everything that we are trying to do is to make sure that product is right. I think we've spent a lot of time on making sure that if we get in that situation again, we can finish the right way, and I think that's what we really focused on. I hear coaches get up here and give you like good sound bites, but at the end of the day, we have to be more physical. We have to be able to run like we're playing in a league that has more draft picks than any other league in the country. And so when you do that, you can't just be physical and slow. You can't just be fast and unphysical. You've got to be extremely diverse in how you can play the game of football. And so I can give you the soundbite, but it's everything. You're trying to enhance everything within your program. I think that's really, really important in our league.
Texas A&M opens up against UTSA. Here is UTSA head coach Jeff Traylor discussing the Roadrunners.
Excited for another football season. Felt like we underachieved last year, to be very honest with you. Probably left about 3 wins out there. And, when you're a head ball coach and you think your team should win a certain amount of games and you don't win it, you got to reflect and see how you messed it up. So we've really been trying to fix the stuff we messed up last year, and got a really good football team again, we believe. Offensively, we'll be very solid and mature. A lot of those guys are returners. A lot of those guys that were injured from last year are back, which is a blessing. Defensively, we lost, all of them, like literally. We don't have one starter back on defense. So Jess Lepp has never put a bad defense out there, and he won't again. We'll find a way to stop people. And we just got to be more disciplined and more buttoned up than we weren't last year. And it was to our detriment, and that's a reflection of the head coach. So rules without a relationships leads to a rebellion. These players have to take ownership in this. This doesn't happen because all of a sudden Jeff Traylor walks in and says we're going to be more disciplined. Owen McCowan, Devin McEwen, Owen Pee Wee, those kids, they know what I'm talking about, and they want it buttoned up. And when you talk about extreme ownership, everything on that field's a reflection of me, Mike, all of it. And I've got to do a better job of my players understanding that's a reflection of them as well. and they've got to own that. And my guys are extremely bought in. And obviously, when you open up against A&M, that's a pretty daunting task, right? So we're going to find out quickly how buttoned up we are. Mike Elko might unbutton us. I'm really proud of the consistency of our program. I am. I've already mentioned Kirk. I thought there were 3 games last year that we did not take care of that we should have. I'm disappointed in that. But as far as a reflection on the entire 5 years, anytime you can make 5 bowls in a row, we're 46-20, Kirk. In this decade, that's the most wins of any Texas football college team in the state. No one's won more. We're 29-3 at the Alamo Dome. It's the 3rd best record in college football, I believe, behind Ohio State and Georgia. And last I checked, their rev share numbers are just larger than ours. Really proud of where we come. Obviously, we got a long ways to go. This will be our 15th season to play football. I mean, think about that. Carter mentioned it 37 years ago when you're hearing the head coaches speak here. There was no UTSA head coach up there talking. That didn't start happening until 15 years ago. And I'm sure we didn't get invited to the party for a while. We were FCS for a while. So I don't even know how long we've been up there speaking on that stage. So we've got a lot of potential. And you know what potential is. It's everything that you ain't. But we got a lot of potential.
Coach Traylor also discussed one player that everyone can cheer for, JT Clark.
He's as good a human as I've ever coached. He was an extremely raw talent when we got here, who developed himself into a 3rd-round draft grade as a receiver. He makes one cut against UAB where he's untouched, totally blows his leg out, takes him, I believe, maybe 2 seasons to get back. I'm not quite for sure of that. His very first catch, they hit him on his good knee and did the same injury to his good knee. And it's one of the most tragic stories. And I hope it's a good reminder for all of us when we all get so bitter at these kids for trying to fight for every dollar they can get. He was literally one cut away. If that doesn't happen, the kid is still in the National Football League. There's no doubt in my mind that guy's still playing ball. His spirit has been broken, but it can't keep him down. He's just too good of a human. And I tried to hire him and let him rehab. I wanted to keep him right here in UTSA and work for me. Kid wants to go back to high school and coach ball. And my good friend Red Barron just hired him at Saxy. He's going to coach receivers. And he wants to be around high school kids. And he's going to rehab the whole time and try to be ready for pro day. And if anybody could ever make it, it'd be JT Clark. And if there's anybody you should all be rooting for, it's JT Clark.
And lastly, but not least, here is Texas Tech head coach Joey McGuire with his preseason thoughts.
We're still in talking season. Everybody's undefeated. Everybody still likes me. Everybody likes, I was just listening to somebody and they said, yeah, it's like right now we're all tied in the high school ranks for the state championship. We're all tied in the college ranks for the national championship. And talking season's almost over. I know my guys are ready to get started, and we're excited about the team that we have and cannot wait.
You might wonder what the Texas High School Coaches Association Convention is. It's a gathering of high school and middle school coaches from all sports throughout the state of Texas. College coaches provide teaching. You may have seen the social media hashtag coaching school connected with the convention. This is the 93rd year of the convention, and all 8 coaches discussed what it means to them and others. I'll kick this off with Sonny Dykes of TCU. His father, Spike Dykes, is a coaching legend and was the Texas Tech head coach for well over a decade, and and Spike Dykes was also an assistant at Texas under head coach Gerald Royal. The Texas High School Coaches Association Convention has a special place in the hearts of college coaches, and it was apparent in their comments.
You guys have probably heard this before, but I grew up, my dad was obviously a coach, and so we grew up, this was our vacation pretty much every year as a kid, so it's always fun to come here. There's a nostalgia kind of associated with the Texas High School Coaches Association, and just every time I come here, I kind of think about how much this organization meant to my dad, and I think I've been to 29, I think, of the last 30 or 31 of these events. Even when I was the head coach at Cal, we came every year. I don't know that anybody in California was too excited about us doing that, but we brought our whole staff every year. Same thing in Louisiana. I think one year I didn't come was when I got married, and I think that's probably about the only year I haven't come in the last 30. So it's a big deal to me. It's kind of you get a little bit of a break. You want to try to get away and spend time with your family and not think about football too much, and then you come back to this, and all of a sudden you're fully immersed in football again. And so to me, it's kind of the start of the 2025 football season in a lot of ways.
From last week being at SEC Media Days, then coming here for coaches school, it's just kind of like the kickoff to the season for us. So it's always exciting to see a lot of familiar faces now 5 years into this, and the coaches that had great years last year, their teams had great years getting recognized by the Texas High School Coaches Association for all the work that they had, success they had last year. Obviously, everybody here is excited about their upcoming seasons. A lot of great coaches, a lot of great teams, and it's a really cool opportunity to be together with all of the head coaches from the other universities in the state of Texas, and because we've all got a part to what makes football so special in our state. And so it's always an honor and a privilege to be here to represent the University of Texas. And but like I said, this is always kind of to me like the kickoff. We're about to get started now, which is obviously exciting.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Game Before the Money podcast. A special thanks to NFL veteran Bill Butler and his wife Debbie for their generous donation to keep this podcast and the website going. Please subscribe to the Game Before the Money podcast and visit thegamebeforethemoney.com. Transcriptions of some episodes of the Game Before the Money podcast are available at thegamebeforethemoney.com and are powered by our transcription partner Sonics. Visit sonics.ai to learn more about their automated transcription services.